Today, we are going to be making a step-by-step tutorial on how to make your motorcycle street legal. Make sure if you guys like this video, you hit that like button, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos in the future. In the meantime, make sure to consider checking out my merchandise. It'd really help us out. We are firstly going to be going over the essential things that you need in order to make your bike street legal. First off, turn signals. Turn signals, as well as brake lights, a horn, a high beam, a low beam, and mirrors are needed in order to be able to make any sort of motorized vehicle street legal. Now, we need to go through all of that before we can even get down to the inspections, anything like that that you guys are going to be wanting to do. Now, there's going to be two categories to this video. One is going to be for the self-built, self-assembled motorcycles, which is what mine is. Mine's this homemade R3 that I built from scratch. Now, I'm also going to be going over the salvage inspection vehicles as well, where it was a bike that was fabricated, manufactured from an actual display, a name brand type of thing, something that's already been on the market, something that's legal already. It's just something that could have been titled, was lost, anything like that. Could have been have VIN number issues, anything like that. There's going to be two different categories, one for those motorcycles and one for self-built like I'm doing today. Now, when it comes to motorcycle turn signals, they're really not that hard. It seems like they should just be plug and play no matter the model, but there was a couple cases I had where I don't know what happened, but just throughout my experiences, the older bikes I've worked with a few GS 450s, and when replacing the turn signals from the stock and going with an aftermarket turn signal, I've realized that I don't know if it's I think it's the relays on those older bikes do not allow aftermarket turn signals. They will not flash. Those aftermarket turn signals prevent those flasher relays from working. So whenever you engage the turn signal stays orange the entire time. It doesn't flash, it's just solid orange the entire time. Now, with these newer model bikes, I've only experienced this with one, which is this 2015 Yamaha R3. I didn't have any issues with that whatsoever. I traced down all the wiring for this bike, found out how I need to wire my aftermarket turn signals, and then once I rewired these new turn signals on, they work completely fine. I don't know if it's a year thing. I don't know what that could have been, but that's something I ran into and you might run into as well if you're working with those older bikes. Now, brake lights, they weren't difficult at all. It was really just a matter of figuring out what I liked and what I wanted to put on it and then just wiring it. All I had to do was trace down the wiring, plug and play pretty much after that. Headlight's pretty easy. I got my headlight for my R3 off of Amazon, and it's pretty much just your standard cruiser headlight. It's not like one of those sport bikes, but it's actually not that hard to wire it from being a cruiser headlight to a sport bike wiring harness. You pretty much just had to have a basic understanding of how wiring diagrams work, and then after that, just got to figure out the hot, negative, and which needs to go where. Fenders are also important. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the videos with the other things like the turn signals and stuff, but fenders are also needed in order to make motorized vehicles street legal. Now, I cannot stress this enough throughout my process. Once we get to the point where I describe how to get it inspected, I cannot stress this enough. When you are getting your vehicle inspected, you need to bring all the receipts that you used in purchasing parts for your vehicle. The first time I tried, I got there and they were like, no, you don't have your receipts, so we can't inspect this vehicle. Now, even though everything on it works exactly how it should, I couldn't even get it inspected because I didn't have a receipt saying that I bought the tubing to build this motorcycle. Now, I will say the main things that they said you need directly are the receipts for the fenders, the receipts for the gas tank, the receipts for the tubing and materials, anything like that. Now, other than that, I have the title for the engine that I took off the bike, but they said that title, you can't transfer VIN numbers from one bike, well, from one frame to another. So on that process, I'm pretty much going to be getting this inspecting and getting a completely new VIN number for this bike. But having that title for that engine is basically like the receipt showing that I purchased that engine. Now, if you don't have a title, that's a different story. You're going to have to go through the process of running the VIN numbers, making sure those are clean, and figuring out if it's a salvage vehicle, figuring out if it was in a if it's going to be legal to put that engine back on the road again. Because there's times where bikes are totaled and the frame's VIN number cannot be put back on the road. It's illegal completely. Now, there's times where you can take the engine off of said frame and it's legal to put that on another frame and get that bike legal again, but it's a little difficult. In my case, it's not as difficult because my frame's built from scratch, and the engine I took that off of was off of a wrecked R3 that was still legal. Like it was wrecked, but there was no issues with the VIN number or the engine whatsoever. And there really wasn't much damage to the original frame. I was just wanting to build something completely different. Another thing, make sure the brakes, front and rear brakes, work accordingly, obviously. Okay, now down to the part of describing how you're going to need to get your bike inspected. Now, for this category, we're going to go over the homemade, completely self-built frame first, and then we'll go over the salvage bike, which is pretty similar, just somewhat different. You have to get a self-assembled vehicle inspection receipt at the BMV in order to get your bike inspected. You have to pay for that prior to getting it inspected, or they won't inspect it whatsoever because you don't have that receipt number. Now, after you get the receipt from the BMV, you can look online through the statehighwaypatrol.com. I believe that's what it is. Don't quote me on that. But you can get on the State Highway Patrol's website and go down to salvage inspections. And once you're down there, you can press on schedule and inspection. And after you press on schedule and inspection, there's these two columns, I believe, and one says your receipt number. Now, that receipt number is going to be on that previous receipt that you just bought at the BMV, and you're going to put that number in at the top. Then after that, you're going to go through a list of things like describing the bike, what condition it's in, how, just miscellaneous stuff to describe that bike. And then once you do that, you'll schedule your appointment. They do like twice a month, which is inconvenient. Once or twice a month, which is inconvenient, but whatever works, you know. So after you get that scheduled, then you're in. Then you just got to show up with the receipts of all the things, not all, but the majority of the things that you bought for that bike. Now, when it comes to self-assembled, which is what it's called, self-assembled vehicles, which would be something like you took parts off of one bike to put on another bike that's already a legal bike, kind of. Or even it's taking two different bikes, combining a bunch of the parts in order to make a different running bike that could be street legal. And in that case, you're going to have to go through a similar process, same process of getting it inspected, but there's going to need to be different receipts of showing each bike what you pulled from what, just pretty much proving that nothing that you have is stolen. That's the biggest thing that they issue when you're there, is proving that nothing's stolen. So if you can provide receipts of both of bikes and stuff like that, you'll go through it with no issue. Now, when it's all said and done, you will be issued a new VIN number for your motorcycle, which you will have to imprint in your frame. That's one part I haven't done yet because I haven't even finished this whole process yet. So once you get that issued VIN number, you can take, I forget what they're called, they're like hammer punches with numbers on the end of them, and you can take those and put on your frame and hammer in your VIN number directly into your frame, showing that that's what it is. And then after that point, you can get the new title transferred into your name, and then from there, you'll be able to get it registered, licensed, insured. So from that point, you are going to be a completely street legal rider again, which we are not there yet, but we are going through the majority of that process right now. With all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please consider checking out my website and buying merch. It really would help me support my channel. We just actually got to be a part of the YouTube Partners program, so we are finally getting monetized. We are finally at that point where we can get monetized. It took just about 2 years of consistently uploading to get monetized on YouTube. So hopefully, please share these videos, friends, family, so we can get these out there and I can start being able to make money pretty much off of this stuff, because this stuff is expensive. But if you guys like this type of video, this informative, structured video, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts, input, anything like that. Please let me know if there's anything I need to change, your perspective of things. If you have any ideas, things that you'd like me to mention in these videos, just let me know. Hopefully in the next couple of videos, I will be starting 2 new projects actually here soon for customers. One, I'm going to be rebuilding it's a Honda Grom clone that they want stripped down into a naked bike, kind of designed off of Asfer's Customs on Instagram. Check them out; they're pretty cool. They create these tracker, um, cafe racer looking bikes that are naked and got that real cool look to them. They're like 150cc. So I'm going to be doing that for a customer. I'm also just about to sell the Cruiser after I get my tie rods fixed still. And then after that, I'm going to be building a huge diesel tank smoker that's going to be able to be used as a smoker, a charcoal grill, and is big enough to fit an entire hog in it. So please stay tuned for these videos. They're going to be pretty cool. But in the meantime, please like and subscribe, share with others, and hope you guys enjoyed.